Thank God we got a good episode, a happy episode. We have been drugged through several episodes of just not really knowing what's going to happen to characters like healing. And finally, with this episode, everything's happy again for now. For now, everything's happy. But oh gosh, I was so tearful in this episode. They really did nail that reunion that we were all really kind of clamoring for at this point. And sadly, having a brief moment where I was almost expecting Bose to actually get involved. He was reacting to the cries of healing, and then he remembered Moranjo and turned around, so... Bose, I hate you, dude. Don't like you no more, dude. It was funny because I did have my brother comment on my last video saying that he didn't expect that there would ever be... that he didn't think that healing was going to see Boji. And I agree with him on the fact that if you took her words for concrete, solid prediction, yes, technically she shouldn't have been able to see Boji. I was going to reply to him, specifically my perspective on it, but I kind of wanted to wait to see if I'd be right. You don't want to reply to something like that until you know you're 100% right. But no, of course, the comment that I assume that he is mentioning is, okay, when Healing first sent Boji out on his adventure, what did she say? She said she had a feeling that she would never see her children again. And I don't think that it was... There's two aspects to it. The first one is that technically nothing has indicated that she is a prophet. There's no indication that she's a prophet. If anything, it was probably the maternal instincts that she was getting. But on that regard, whether it is a prophecy or motherly instincts there, or maternal instincts, the idea that I would again, I was going to reply, but I didn't really at the time, is that she didn't technically ever see them again as they were. That's the key thing. She still sees Daida. She can go down in the prison and see Daida. She sees Boji, but she doesn't see them for what they were anymore, because Boji has grown up. He's gotten stronger. He's able to be what he strives to be. He's no longer weak while being strong. He's now strong while being strong. Both internally and externally, he is now strong. He's able to act on that strength that he has now. And again, Daida, she can go see him right now, physically see him, but he's not him anymore. He's inside of himself, trapped away, and Bose's in control. So she's not seeing Daida anymore, she's seeing Bose. But anyways, he did cast doubt in my head despite that, because the entire episode, I'm like, because it had that brief moment when he first arrives, when Boji first arrives, and she's seen him immediately, but I still have this like fear because Kage came to Healing and said, look, we gotta go. And I was totally expecting him to rush Healing out of the picture, and then Boji doesn't see him. It's gonna be this whole thing of like, when is Boji gonna finally embrace Healing again? But didn't do that. Again, we had a full-on episode of that embrace and that acknowledgement of what Boji's gone through and how strong Boji is, and everything was just such a good episode. Such a good episode. I loved it. But yeah, the beginning segments of this episode is really Dorsch really not giving up and still fighting back. At some point, Healing is trying to go to help him. That's when the snake shows up. So the snake decided to make an appearance and is just wrecking things. Unfortunately, getting beat the crap out of too. Healing, bringing back Dorsch, wasting all the remaining of her potions that she has. I'm gonna call it potions. It always indicated like before, like it was alcohol or something that she had to hydrate herself with. I never really got the perspective that they were potions, but apparently she needs mana potions to keep going. Mana potions. And it really sucked because this ogre guy is just wrecking the snake, and then finally Boji and Kage show up, knocks out the ogre, and we have this moment where, yeah, again, Healing doesn't have any more of these potions, but yet the snake needs to be helped, and Boji's like, please come on, mother, please save him. And she's like, I don't have any more potions. And it's like, are we really doing this? Of everything that is getting nearly killed, the snake's gonna be the one that doesn't have enough mana to save. I was like, we're not doing this. And sure enough, it's the writer just completely faking us out, which I'm not gonna trust you no more, writer. But no, that's when Kage starts throwing out a whole bunch of potions and is like, oh, here you go, you can handle this. And yeah, she saves him. It was really cute because obviously during this entire episode, there's a lot of cases where Healing just doesn't know what the hell's going on. Like, oh yeah, that's the snake that I saved before. But okay, do I need to save it? And then again with Kage, who the heck are you? And why are you with my son? I don't trust you. Who are you? You have an evil aura around you. She still has that protective mode, and again, kind of her queenly way of seeing things. She's still keeping to her status. And even still instilling that upon Boji of his status. You can't really see these people as friends. You can't see this as a good person. Nothing is taken for granted. You have to have that self-preservation there. And she says to Dorsch, he needs to understand who he is. But yeah, we did get a little bit of kind of clarification on what Desper taught Boji in this scene, because again, we really established the idea that he's essentially going for weak spots. That everything in the world is pretty much a connection of multiple pieces of microscopic matter, and if you can find those little imperfections where it's not connecting, you can find that point in which it can be shattered. And so that's essentially what he uses to take out the ogre's weapon. And then I guess poke him in the foot and knock him out. I think that was a poke in the foot. But even still, the ogre establishes that he is pretty much wants to serve Boji. Like, he's gained respect of Boji, and so he wants to serve Boji. I thought that was a little cheesy. I mean, there's nothing to indicate that this Gigon guy is very smart. I mean, he could just be, this person's stronger than me, I'm afraid of him, so I'll follow him. That could be his mindset. He might not be a very brilliant person. He just sees that this person wrecked me, and he's so small and so brave. I respect that. We also got a flashback from Healing's perspective of essentially seeing that growth in Boji. Seeing this brief scene where the town's on fire, they're trying to figure out what caused it, and Boji's running up with a cup of water to throw it. Daida's running up with a large bucket and throwing it and telling Boji to get out of the way. And then here comes Dad, and he just dumps this big old huge, like, pool-sized thing onto it. And it was funny because I almost was expecting Bose in that flashback to turn around to Daida and say, so I can lift something heavier than you, so thus you're useless in this scene. It was kind of a missed opportunity to really kind of show that Boji was trying with what he could, Daida was trying with what he could, and then Bose just knocked it all out with one big huge thing. But doesn't mean that any of these things are inherently useless. Each one did its own purpose. But it's obviously showing from Healing's perspective how much Boji has grown. And it was really awesome. I loved it. But yeah, this is where we get the scene of Healing confronting Kage and asking him who he is. He's got evil aura around him, and he's like, I'm his friend. What are you talking about? And she's like, well, swear loyalty to him. And he's like, what the hell? Shut up, you're an idiot. And she's like, how dare you, Dorsch, get this guy. And he's like, well, I'm calling you an idiot because you're being an idiot. It was great, because it really kind of at this point really instills upon Healing, this is a guy, well, I think it was, the snake was mentioning the idea that this guy has saved your son a lot of times. This guy has been with your son through thick and thin. Like, this is the guy that literally was there for your son when nobody else was. Like, he was literally there to save your child's life when you weren't there. It was really kind of a slap in the face. And I like the fact that, despite the fact that she tells Dorsch to apologize for her, she still goes up there herself and apologizes. It's really, really great. But yeah, this was the interesting thing. This is the continuation of what we're kind of seeing with the show, is, I guess, both a perspective of how strong Boji is, both physically and emotionally, but at the same time showing him growing as a leader, not just as brute strength and technique, but actual leadership. And again, this goes back to the whole kind of comment about Daida and his insecurities about people that are that are not fully 100% physically fit like he deems they should be, and how they still strive on with their lives. How that makes Boji even stronger than him, and that lack of leadership that Daida has seen in that. Well, Boji's here, not going around and tying up everybody and claiming everybody is a bad guy at that point. He's accepting people. So when Gigon gives himself up to him, he accepts him. And even at that point, again, Kage really trying to turn it into more of a friendship and not so much this is your subordinate. And this continues as he sees all these beasts that are knocked out by Dorsch. He wants his mom to heal them. These are these beings that deserve another chance. And it doesn't really indicate necessarily that Boji knows that they were under control of Miranjo, but still the healing that Healing does snaps them out of their kind of mind control, and then they become subservient to Boji and want to help him. And I think, again, that's that whole aspect of him growing that army. Like, despite the fact that, again, in the intro, the first season, or the first core, we see him walking, and there's all these people following him, and these are all the people that, during the time that we first started watching the show, were all against him. But slowly over time, everybody's following Boji, because he's strong and because he's not a bad person like everybody else says around him. It's that leadership through that trust that people have of him, that he's a good person. Yeah, when he heals the beast, that's when he turns and hugs Healing, and I was like, oh gosh, here it is. The tears are coming. No, stop. Oh, it was wrecking me. That was a moment. I mean, we haven't really technically had them together since, 6th or 8th episode? I don't know, somewhere around there. It's been a long time since these two have actually been together, and it was just a very warm embrace. And even he kind of pauses himself because of, his status and where he's at. And he just kind of realizes, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then she still embraces him. So it wasn't just him hugging her. It was her hugging him. And it was just, just claw the eyes. It's claw the eyes. It's hurting. Oh, it was good. It was a much welcome hug. It was so good. But yeah, this is a little bit when where we get into healing, really kind of instilling upon Boji that these people can't be your friend. That they need to serve you. You have a status that you have to uphold. You have to stand with confidence at this point because you are strong and people will follow you. And yeah, Gigan apparently swears loyalty to him. So good stuff there. But yeah, this is when we finally get a perspective of Oaken, which I don't know if this is done at this point, but it felt like it ended pretty quickly. I was really expecting Oaken to go a little bit longer here, but it did kind of utilize Oaken as a way of talking about Moranjo. So that's a weird thing there. I didn't really expect that to be kind of transitioned that way, but essentially we're getting a perspective of Desper talking to Desher from a distance, and he's telling Desher what's going on currently with Oaken, that their commander is engaging with Oaken. And what they're implying here is that from that vantage point, Desher is able to call upon lightning to strike Oaken, because obviously they're cutting off arms and limbs and stuff of him, and he's just kind of regenerating himself. So instead, they just drop a lightning bolt upon him, and it knocks him out, and that's when Desper runs in and ties him up. So I guess that was the mentality there, is that Desper was going to use his brother to call upon lightning, and he needed to be there to kind of, I guess, do the military, put a beat on it so that they can launch it from a distance. That's what I'm getting is implied, but this is where they're really getting into Oaken and what he is. Why is Oaken the way he is? And from their vantage point, they're saying it's because he is immortal. He is this guy that at some point was all about creating a powerful group of gentle soldiers that would go out and, do things. And yet he went mad. And he went to this point where he just is basically going around slaughtering people just for the sake of seeing the pain. So it's going down the vantage point of somebody that has immortality that loses their moralities. They lose that sense of everything because they've never felt pain. They never felt loss. They no longer are ever going to die, that they can't understand why people would continue on. He doesn't understand the idea of, having an end to your life and thus wanting to have children to live on from your life. He's lost all that. And so that's driven him mad. And this, again, transitions to their perspective of Moranjo. Why does Desher want to kill Moranjo? Well, because one day she'll be just like Oaken, because she is in a state of immortality. And so she will eventually lose that sense of moralities that normal people have. I would argue she already has that, obviously. She wants to kill everything. She wants to burn down the country. She's already losing that sense of what most people see as morality, right and wrong, because she doesn't have a sense of an end. Yeah, that's when they end it with Desher finding the gateway to the underworld. So that kind of leaves it there. But again, fantastic episode, like through and through, so many good points. Again, I'm a little frustrated some more about Bose. He literally reacted to healing. He instinctively wanted to go out there to help her, and then again, he has chosen Moranjo. There's so much statement in that scene, because he reacts to her, thinks of Moranjo, and steps back. So thus putting Moranjo ahead of his own wife. Again, you can make the argument that he probably never had much feelings for healing. He just, used her to have a child, but still, that's enough right there to indicate that Moranjo's more important than anything. That really sucks. It sucks. You had a chance. You had a chance of redeeming there, man. But yeah, the final reuniting of Boji with the healing really acknowledging how much Boji has grown, which we all really were expecting. Again, we're still technically not sure what's happening with Appius and Moranjo. They're all in possession of Zaku. We didn't even see them at all this entire episode. But again, at this point, I don't trust Appius either. I don't care if he's conflicted. Everybody that's conflicted and following Moranjo, I don't care. And I know that eventually they will explain her, but I should stop. This episode's already turned out longer. It's going to get to the point where it's the length of the show itself. But again, technically a lot of stuff happening in this episode. So much stuff to dive into. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Are you thrilled about all this stuff as I was? Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon. I'll throw our tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody it does. And y'all take care.